All right. Trump tariffs. He announced there on Truth Social there. Is the only reason people have Truth Social is because of just to see what he posts on Truth Social. I think it's pretty much primarily people only reason people have that, right?
Right. I literally don't know any reason why anyone would have a True Social account besides just to hear directly from the horse's mouth.
Yeah. So he announced there on his kind of ramblings that he usually does there on social media. He proposed another 100% tariffs on movies. Now he did this. He talked about this before. I believe it was in May of this year where he said he was kind of going to do that. And people were kind of confused and didn't know, but it was kind of one of the amongst the other 100 things he throws out there amongst all this other stuff that was like, okay, is this going to stick? Is it not going to stick? So again, it's brought up again that he was going to possibly do this. Now there's nothing in place as of yet. This is just something that he just kind of put out there like he usually does. And we're going to talk about like, what does this mean for the film industry? If this actually does take place and is put into place there. I mean, first of all, I looked at some articles here. I got Reuters is up. I got a CNBC, and I got the Hollywood Reporter. So I got some different perspectives there on this. One of the things is actually logistically, how can you actually implement these tariffs there? What's going to be the actual legal kind of way you're going to do this? Because a movie is not good, right? A movie is not just a certain good there. And especially the production of a film includes a lot of other different parts to it. And then one of the articles mentions how we're seeing now with film productions, how it can be co-joined together. The production of, we see it like, what was that movie? The Meg is also like, there's also China there, Asian film production companies mixed with American. So how would you actually apply those tariffs? What's some of your initial thoughts here, Neal?
My initial thoughts is it just logistically does not make any sense because, like you said, a movie is a service if you really think about it. Because you watch a movie just as an entertainment service. So how do you tariff that? Or if I go to see Parasite in the theaters, do you charge double the price I would see to see the Fantastic Four? I mean. And also just like, how do you specify what a foreign film is? Because speaking of Fantastic Four, if you do reshoots in Canada or the UK, like with a lot of these Marvel movies that they do, does that count as a foreign film? Because that technically is not part of the US, because it just reeks of Trump, one, not thinking anything through like he always does, and two, just not it just does not make any logistical sense the more you think about it.
So this is what he wrote there on Truth Social. So this is on CNBC. They quoted his post there. It says, our movie making business has been stolen from the United States of America by other countries, just like stealing candy from a baby, he wrote in a post on social media, adding that he would impose 100% tariff on any and all movies that are made outside of the United States. So that's what he kind of partially said there on it. So yeah, so he said he would do that. Now, some of the reaction, he's hitting on a real issue there of the movie business leaving Hollywood, right? Which people have talked about there. And all these people going to all these other different countries, Canada, most notably, they go to there. And when you see like, especially a lot of the CW shows, they mostly all film in Canada because of the tax incentives, because it is the film there. It's just cheaper to film there than in other places. So people are saying that, well, instead of doing this 100% tariff, why not do a tax or a federal rebate type of incentive for people to actually film here instead of doing that? Now, there are places that do that in the United States, like New York actually does that. That's why you see some productions up there in New York. In Georgia, they do that. Tyler Perry Studios. So it kind of leads people to drifting away from California and going to places like Georgia, which Tyler Perry has built his own studio there. A lot of the Marvel movies shoot at Tyler Perry Studios, like maybe movies, you'll see like the Georgia Peach productions and everything like that. Tyler Perry, is a part of that. No Way Home was shot there. I believe Brave New World, a lot of that was shot there as well. So it's a lot of the tax incentives that is given to people there, and it's bolstered the film industry there. Well, in places like Canada, places like Australia, New Zealand, when they do that. Now, the issue with that is also with if you actually implement the tariff, will these other countries kind of act in terms of retribution and implement a tariff on that as well? And a lot of especially a movie with a big budget, uh, a lot of they make their money back because of the international market. China is very huge in doing that. China has limited the amount of Hollywood movies that go there. What's kind of your opinion there?
Yeah, I definitely think that tax incentives are the better way to do it because from the perspective of the film industry, it is better to diversify and not just have it be located in one or two hubs in the United States. So having tax incentives like Georgia does more nationally would be great. And you're absolutely right that if these tariff idea were to be implemented, there definitely would be international retribution because China's not going to show Avatar if their chart if we're implementing a bunch of unnecessary tariffs, and it's just going to escalate more and more, and just you run into the problem of how do we talked about this a little earlier, but how do you classify what an international movie is if it's just like by percentage of how much of it is completed in the U.S. or not? But it's it's a recipe for disaster, and it's just not a good idea, which is frankly right on brand with Trump policy. So I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah. And this article mentions it here. It says since movies aren't goods, they're services, it remains unclear how a tariff could be placed on a service. But should some logistical loophole be found and enforced, it will cause chaos within the entertainment industry. Here it says Mike Perlox, vice president and researcher director of Forrester, here in a statement Monday. Then they question question becomes what's next? Where's the line between a movie and a limited time series? What about the aid industry that saves money by shooting commercials outside the U.S. there? Production of film and TV isn't always simple. Some productions will shoot parts of a film internationally and film pieces of it domestically. Would films be taxed based on the percentage of the film that was shot outside the U.S.? Would that mean for foreign films seeking release? What would that mean for foreign films seeking release in the country? You touched on that as well there about, there are certain movies, like if you do a Mission Impossible movie, Mission Impossible movies, they film all around the country in London and Italy and, Spain or all these different Brazil, and it's an American company that makes Mission Impossible. So how would you
Right.
actually implement that? Would be the thing.
Well,
Or
and this would also just kill animation in general, just because of how much animation is done internationally, not just anime, but a lot of American productions are done overseas. So, when Infinity Castle 2 comes out, are they going to double the ticket price for that specifically because it's made in Japan? Yeah.
yeah. And then you mentioned that as well, like X-Men 97, that's a Korean animation studio that they use to make that show. So that's an example of using another country there for the animation as well there. And like you mentioned, ticket prices. How much is this is going to come back on the consumer? Because if you force everybody that it's going to be 100% tariff for making these movies in another country, and they all try to make movies here, they got to try to recoup that cost somehow there. And is it going to be doubling the ticket prices on the consumer? Is that kind of what you see there with that?
I mean, I think that's the only way it's going to end because with all these tariffs, the prices always go up just to recoup the cost, however unreasonable and how unjust the tariffs and the whole thing is. It's always going to bite the consumers in the ass. It's inevitable, unfortunately, but we just got to hope that these tariffs we just got to hope this is another one of those ideas that just is said into the void and goes nowhere. I mean, the best we
uh,
can do.
And then here is also, this is the Hollywood Reporter. It says Hollywood advocates, including two of Trump's own special ambassadors to the business. You remember when he appointed John Voight and Sylvester Stallone as
Hmm.
like
I
Hollywood.
remember that.
I don't know exactly what they do as the Hollywood ambassadors. I don't know exactly what they actually do there. But it says they've been attempting to divert the conversation to a federal tax incentive. So they've been also trying to do that as well. And then here's
Why?
oh,
Sorry. Why does the president need a Hollywood, ambassador? Like that just seems like. Don't you have other stuff you could be worrying about, Mr. President, besides what Hollywood thinks? But,
I mean, he gives a lot of stuff. I mean, John Voight, he supported him and he spoke at a lot of the rallies, and
mhm,
Sylvester Stallone, I think, also supported him. So he's just like giving them something to do. It's like, okay, sure,
right.
some special title. Yeah. Here's George Clooney talking about it as well there.
Pretty damaging to the business. Look, he's not wrong about the idea that businesses have left Los Angeles. They have in droves. What we need is, the incentives, the tax incentives that you get here in New York. By the way, they're building studios here because there's so much work. We need those. And by the way, if he really wants to fix it, then we should talk about a federal incentive passed to keep people working in Los Angeles, because there are tons of below the line people, grips and cinematographers, who are losing their jobs because work is going away, leaving to states, to New York and Louisiana and places like that, but also to London and other places. So it'd be nice if we had a federal sort of rebate.
Yeah. So yeah, I mentioned that. So you got to have something there for people to do it. That's why all the business is kind of leaving there, as we mentioned. Anthony Mackie, he has a studio there, Atlanta, Georgia, as well. So that's become like a new hub of big Hollywood stuff, kind of going all there to Georgia. So yeah. Any final word on this?
Yeah, the more you try to rationalize it, the less sense it makes, and it just. I personally don't think this is going to come to anything, but it just, yeah, this is a non-solution. And George Clooney was right that rebate structures or tax incentives are the way to go, because if you want to incentivize other movie productions to move outside of just the one or two hubs that already exist, you got to create opportunities, and tax incentives are the right way to do it, not punishing artists for making films that just happen to be from overseas.
Yeah. Final thing on this. So just mention all these other countries. So it says here, Australia and New Zealand saw a 14% increase in the production of projects costing 40 million or more between 2022 and 2024. Meanwhile, the US experienced a 26% decline there. Yeah. So a little bit there of what that can actually do there. It says, yeah, many nations have looser rules what kind of projects qualify for the financial benefits in New Zealand, the UK, Ireland, Iceland, Australia, Norway, Italy, Hungary, Germany, and the Czech Republic, all jockeying for productions, and they are taking a share. So you got that as well. Isn't that why Ube Bowl, like that's the only reason he made movies? Because you just wanted
Yeah,
to.
yeah. He made movies because of a very specific German tax loop where it was like a producer schemes where if the movie bombed, he got a rebate, and he just used that to continually fund all of his terrible video game adaptations. So we need to be like Germany and refund terrible movies so we can keep artists at work.
Yeah. Is he still making movies? I haven't heard from this guy in a while.
He still is. He's not making video game movies anymore, so thank the Lord for that. But he's still doing stuff. And weirdly enough, I saw one non-video game movie he did called Rampage. Weirdly
Okay.
not based off of the video game Rampage, but it was decent. So maybe he just needs to not make video game movies anymore.
Yeah, I see he's got a movie coming out called Citizen Vigilante. He's got that coming out, and he has a movie coming out this year called Run, November 14th. So he's got that.
All
Um,
right. I
yeah,
hope
but
it's
people
good.
people don't know. Yeah, UB Bull made some of the worst movies maybe ever, like Blood Rain and Far Cry,
Alone
um,
in the Dark is the big one I know him from.
Alone in the Dark, House of the Dead. Yeah, like you do these shitty video game adaptation movies that were just horrendous, that were just terrible.
Yeah.
But a lot of it was because he got the taxes and sent them to do these. So
Right. I blame Uwe Boll for tarnishing the name of video game adaptations for a while, to be honest, because like when the only video game adaptations that are coming out are stuff like Blood Rain and Alone in the Dark, and just all this other just garbage. It taints the whole the brand.
yeah. So that was news on that.